and remembering that healing happens in all places. Mm-hmm. It happens in the heart. It happens in love. It happens in the joy. Yeah. Healing comes in all different forms, and to don't set yourself up in the trap of like, it wasn't hard, so I didn't heal. It wasn't painful, so there wasn't a lesson. It's like, no, like sharing laughter with a friend is healing.
Yeah. Welcome back to another session for the soul.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone. We're here.
Yeah. So today we're going to be talking about what is healing.
Yes.
Which feels like such a vague,
it's so
vague concept.
No, exactly. It's so broad. Like, you know, like you and I were talking about when we sort of like outlined this, just this idea of like, there's so many different facets of healing, and like, what even is it? How does it look for everyone? You know, and all the different avenues of healing. We're going to talk about it today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there's so much to unpack, and obviously we're going to squeeze in as much as we can into like 45 to 60 minutes to just give like an overview, but also to dive into like what it actually means to heal. And I think we wanted to start with this as our first episode after our little intro, because I think so much of our work is about healing in one way or another, whether it be relationship challenges, personal healing journeys, mental health, emotional health, all of those things. Mm-hmm. And just the word healing, I think, can just get so confusing and abstract. And it's like, what does that even mean? So we're going to dive into that.
Yeah, and absolutely.
I think we were talking before we got started too about how do we even define healing?
Yeah.
Like, what does that even mean?
No, exactly. It's so interesting because when we like sat down to define it, I was like, oh, I don't know. And it felt it feels a little confusing. And so I think it's really good that this is where we're sort of like laying the groundwork for people to understand what our work is and why it's important, and also understand like for themselves where they're at in their own journey. And maybe this will help people kind of discern some of the noise in the modern world, right? With like all of the things like social media or comparison, or just kind of how our brains are so, you know, as humans, like we are linear. We really do look at things in a linear sense. Time is linear, age, all of those things. And remembering that like, that's sort of made up, guys. And, that's not the reality in so many journeys and so many things in life. Like, even though we want it to be, because if only we could box everything up and put a bow on it, like life would feel so good. But we can't.
We cannot do that.
We can't. So, recognizing sort of how it's actually so fluid and so multifaceted. I saw something recently that said something about how like healing doesn't happen in lines, it happens in circles. And that just came to mind right now, because it really does happen. Like, things really are so cyclical, and we learn different things in different places, and lessons, you know, sometimes reappear in different forms to kind of show us either where we have healed or grown, or where we need to still nurture and tend.
Yeah. I mean, if we look at just like, there's a lot of misconceptions, I think, around healing in general. And just speaking to your point of like linear, everything is linear, right? Like we want things so badly to be this linear process. And I think in some ways, like even if you look at that, like maybe through like an ancestral lens or something like that, where like evolutionarily speaking, it feels really safe to think about like things in this linear, very like structured process.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, life as a whole just like isn't that at all. And so it can be hard, I think, to like really settle into that and to be able to recognize like, okay, so I'm going to have to let go of this idea that this is going to be straightforward. I'm going to know exactly what to expect. I know the exact outcome that I'm trying to get to. And I know exactly when that's going to happen for me. Like,
Right.
You can throw all of those out the window. I think when it comes to like healing, whether it be through like therapy or coaching or whatever that looks like for your personal journey, like, it's just, it's not a predictable process.
Absolutely. Like, gosh, if it were, my goodness, things would look different for like the world, right? But exactly, like, you know, I think it's really normal to be destination oriented, especially like our culture starting young. You know, it's like you're going to go from this grade to this grade, and then you're going to graduate, and then you're going to go to college. And I know we kind of like even touched on that a little bit in the last episode, but this kind of like mindset of like, and then you're going to have the career, and then you're going to do that. And it's kind of like we're checking boxes. And that kind of contributes to, I think, that pressure, that like maybe that desire to have things be linear or have them play out in a predictable way. And I mean, our brains are designed to try to mitigate, you know, discomfort and to really predict fear and predict like outcomes, because that's our animal brain is like literally, you know, keeping us alive. However, in the modern world, like sometimes that animal brain is less helpful than it is helpful anymore. But exactly, like I think one of the biggest misconceptions that comes to mind is just this idea that once you do X, Y, and Z, like once you do the work, you will be healed. And then that's it. It's over. Like you're healed now. And then it's like rainbows and butterflies and everything is amazing.
Yeah.
And it's
just not reality, friends.
Spoilers. Not going to happen.
No, yeah, this like the like destination oriented approach to healing, I think can be really attractive for so many reasons, but I think it's ultimately you're not going to be met with whatever the expectation is that you had. That's not going to be on the other side. And maybe it will be from time to time, but overall, like as a whole, it's just not the way that it works. And so I think being able to really let go of those expectations that we have about things that are so abstract or kind of like in the gray area of this life, being able to let those things go and to really just lean into like, okay, I'm not trying to work toward any destination. This is actually the whole point of life. Like the moment that I'm in, the journey that I'm on, whether it be a quote unquote healing journey or whatever, you know, whatever phase of life that you're in, like this is the whole point. And that's like a little social media trend that I love right now of like, I almost forgot this is the whole point.
Yeah, I love that one.
Because like sometimes I think we can look at these things, like if someone's on like a deep healing journey right now, listening to this, where you might just feel like, oh my gosh, I'm in the thick of it. And this is so hard. And like, I wish I didn't have to go through this, and just all like being really deep in those thoughts. But this is the whole point of life. Like, this is it.
This is it. And you know, that reminds me, one of my favorite sayings is the only way out is through. Because it is hard. It's uncomfortable. The reality is it can be, but this is the whole point. And there is so much medicine and so much beauty in those places. And like, I have a deep hunger for growth. That's always been like something I really feel. And if I'm not doing that, if I'm not like actually like, you know, living life, then what am I doing, you know? And so that's one of those things where sometimes uncomfortable phases are actually like when we're down the road a bit and we're able to look back on them is where we say like, look at that. Like, look at what I did. Look at what I learned. And I think that the more we can as humans just embrace that and remember that like this really is the whole point. Like we're here to live and we're here to learn and we're here to love. And so the more we can like really surrender and embrace that path and meet it with, like you said, you know, less expectation and more just presence and also, you know, empathy and compassion of like, you know, right now, maybe you're not exactly where you want to be. Or maybe, you know, someone listening is, like you said, in the thick of it and just remembering that like, there is something for you in that space. And the only way you're going to get past that space is to really surrender to what's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned too, like the concept of hindsight, like sometimes, I think a lot of times actually, and this maybe is another misconception of like, in order to be healing, you have to be on this very like intentional journey and it has to be this big thing and this big act and doing all quote the work, right? Like it's so much and it can be so overwhelming, I think. But there's so many times I think if anyone sat to really reflect on this, where if you look in hindsight at your life, you're like, oh my gosh, there was so much in this season of my life that I didn't even realize was so healing for me.
Yeah.
And it wasn't necessarily this big intentional act. It wasn't, you know, intensive therapy or going on, you know, whatever that looks like for people.
Right.
But to just really take time to reflect on, like, I was just living my life, my day-to-day life. And in hindsight, I can look at the last 3 months, a year, 5 years, 10 years and say, oh my gosh, I did so much healing in that time. And I didn't even realize it in the moment. And so I think there's so much beauty in being able to like pause and reflect back and really look at what meaning you can make from your past.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so beautiful. Something that was coming to mind for me when you were saying that too is like, I think when we get caught in the trap of like, it needs to be this like monumental effort is sort of like the not realizing what's healing us in the moment or the relationships or the like the seasons or the people that help heal us. I think one of the traps that is really common in our like, in hustle culture, I guess, is kind of part of it is I have to go do this on my own. I have to go get healed. I have to go like before I can receive, you know, whatever I desire. Yeah. I have to go do this. And that was such a trap I fell in. I felt like I felt like I was not worthy of a relationship until I went and healed codependency, healed all these things, healed all of this stuff or like understood it on my own. Yeah. And I'm here to tell everyone, spoiler, news flash, folks, I have done so much more growing and healing in relationship than I ever would have done on my own. And even whether that's in familial relationships, romantic relationships, we're communal beings. And I'm sure you and I will talk about this 1,000 times because I think culture sometimes can tend to like encourage isolation, especially when we're not our best self. And like, what does that even mean? You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy. Or maybe we feel shame around some of the things we're moving through. But the reality is, right, shame can only live in the dark. When you shine a light on shame, it actually can't, it's seen, it's visible. It can't grow anymore than it already has. And so when we allow ourselves to be seen and witnessed and accepted right where we are as a work in progress, because at the end of the day, like, I don't care where you are in your journey, you're still a work in progress, you know, right?
No one's fully arrived. And I think that's like another, you know what I mean? Like, I think that's just another misconception too of like, I mean, it's kind of destination oriented as well, but like you're trying to achieve this one thing and then you can get the job, then you can get the man, like whatever it is, then you can become a parent. Like what?
Yeah.
That's not it. And I think that can be really damaging to like put that message out there of once you've arrived, then you can fill in the blank. And also while you're in the process of healing or fixing whatever it is that you're being told you need to fix to get to the place you want to be, like you need to do it in isolation is the message that's being, shouted from the rooftops, I think a lot on social media.
Yeah.
And again, I think there's a lot of danger to that, but I think it sells really easily. And I think that's unfortunately like the trap that a lot of people find themselves in when you're getting a lot of your information or inspiration or whatever it is from a platform where people are like, I just have to do what sells. I have to do what message is going to like reach people the fastest way.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of, I think, misconceptions that can be taken from the exposure of what's selling really easily on a platform like social media. And so it's tough. It's a really tough place to be if you think like, oh, I have to do this on my own outside of a relationship. I need to go no contact with my family because there's so many patterns in there that are just like wrapped up in things like codependency or other behavioral patterns that I want to step out of. And so I need to cut everyone off out of my life, fix myself, and then I can do whatever it is. Like,
yeah. And you know what? Like, first of all, the no contact thing fucks me up. But I hate that. And I get it. Like there are places and circumstances that really do call for that. And I understand that. But I think in our culture, we're just like looking for our scissors. Yes. We're like, people are like so ready to like snip,
and
cut people out.
Oh, we disagree on this topic.
Done. Goodbye. Don't ever talk to me again. No,
it's insane.
It is insane. And one of the things that I think is like really damaging about it is if you actually love and desire a relationship with certain people, whether that be family or a friend or anybody, right? That you're moving through something with, or if you're moving through something like inside yourself. Yeah. And, of course, like certain things will bring that trigger up. If you go and remove yourself from that completely and all the triggers are gone, it's going to feel real good. Like, it's going to be easier to a degree. And when you go reintroduce yourself to that environment, let me know how that goes. Yeah. Because again, spoilers, guys, it's triggering. The triggers still exist. Yeah. The people who installed those buttons or, specifically like when it comes to family, like a lot of our families are can trigger us or have those moments or those little things where it's like, oh, there's that like pattern or there's that whatever. If we just like remove ourselves from that and then go heal, and I'm using a lot of air quotes on this if you're not watching, if you're listening, and then go back into that. It's like, it's just gonna all come flooding back. It's like kind of like it's like a dam breaking, it's like when the dam breaks, it's all just going to rush. And then it's going to feel a lot worse than maybe if there was subtle, of course, like having our own space, there's things we can do to help. And like I said, there are certain circumstances that do call for no contact, but I do think that, it's a slippery slope. A lot of this is like slippery slope stuff.
Very much so. Yeah. And I think, again, that just speaks to the culture of like these quick fixes, and it's easy to sell a concept of like, just cut these people out of your life and like your problem is solved, or there's no way that you're going to be able to heal if you are still, in this environment or in this relationship or whatever it may be. And of course, like there's definitely space for that. And we, of course, recognize there are lines that do have to be drawn sometimes. But I think it's just like overused at this point. And I also think like when you're when you're going on like some sort of a healing journey or whatever it is, you're making changes to who you are, how you're presenting, how you operate, how you show up in the world and relationships in your job. And so recognizing that as you are on that journey, your relationships are naturally going to start to change. And sometimes that can be really rocky. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't mean that you have to completely cut people out. It's like, how do we renegotiate or kind of like reorient this relationship to the new patterns that I'm stepping into, the new ways that I'm, operating in this world.
Yeah.
And being met with, hopefully, I mean, there might be some resistance at first, and that's okay. That's totally normal.
Yes.
But hopefully at some point being met with like, okay, like, yeah, we can repattern this relationship. We can repattern family dynamics or how you're showing up in the workplace or with your children or whatever it may be. So
yeah,
just recognizing like as you heal, no matter what phase of life you're in, like your relationships are naturally going to change.
Absolutely. It's like, I think you said this to me recently, like adjust to the new normal.
Yes.
And it's like, sometimes adjustment is uncomfortable. There's like this metaphor that comes up a lot in like codependency and Al-Anon and like addiction oriented things. And it's about sort of how like, if you've lived your whole life in this like water that's like dirty, yucky, full of toxic chemicals, and you get up and you go get in this clean pond that's like crystal clear, beautiful, healthy, feels way better, and you go get in it, it's actually going to feel super uncomfortable.
Very.
Because it's not what you know and it's not what you're used to. And so just recognizing too that like sometimes at first, especially when we're stepping in, just like you said, like just reiterating what you said, like the urge or the like desire to go back to what was, even if it wasn't good for you, is probably going to show up and might even feel more comfortable or more like home to a degree because it's what you know and it's what you've done. Not to say that it's good for you, right? Like there's so many things and so many patterns and just elements of these journeys that can actually be more uncomfortable than we realize. But it's like, what is the one, what's the payoff of not doing the work?
Yeah.
And two, like, who am I doing this for? Like, what is this for? Yeah. And like, I love, thinking about, I'm a spiritual girly, and I like to think about, all the different lineages I'm healing when I do something, or even helping others do something. Like, it's not just about us. And I think that's another like trap we can get caught in the modern world, is like, like disguising healing for a purpose and for like the greater good as like selfishness. And there's a big difference between the two. But like, when we are actually like trying to repattern something or change a cycle or rewrite a story that goes down from generations, who are we doing it for? It's like, we're doing it for our inner child. We're doing it for the generations to come. We're doing it for our future children. We're doing it for, our parents even. Like, there's so many, the butterfly effect.
The butterfly effect. Yeah.
The butterfly effect of it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, anytime you make a change, there's like that cascade effect, that ripple effect of like, you're not the only one who is affected by this. Your relationships, the future generations, past generations, like it has a massive effect that can't be ignored. You mentioned payoffs, which I think is so important to talk about, because it's like, I think it's a really touchy subject that people just like don't really talk about a lot, or maybe they just don't acknowledge that it's very real for so many people. So like if we look at well, first of all, everything that we do has a payoff.
Yeah.
Every single thing that we do has a payoff. We would not do it if it didn't benefit us in some way. And by payoffs, we mean benefits, like secondary gain, like you are gaining something from everything that you do.
Yeah.
And so if we look at things like issues within your life, whether it be relationship issues, codependency, mental health issues, things like that, there is some sort of gain that you're getting on the other side of that, even if it's like the most undesirable behavior, experience, whatever it is that you're having, there's still something that you're gaining on the other side of it. And I think of like, maybe some of our listeners can relate to this example of like, if you're struggling with, depression, for example, and you come home from work and you're exhausted and you just sit on the couch and you turn on your show and you check out for the night. Meanwhile, your kids are just like off doing their own thing or trying to figure out like, well, why is mom not connected with me? And your spouse is like, what's going on? And taking care of the household and the kids and making you dinner and all the things. The payoff on the other side of this, and as I'm saying this, I think maybe some people might be a little like, this is going to ruffle some feathers, but there has to be some acknowledgement of like the gain in that is, well, it could be so many different things. It could be, I don't have the mental capacity to connect with my children right now. Yeah. I don't have the capacity to engage with my husband or my spouse. I don't have it in me to address the career that I need to do something different about. And so I'm just everything's going offline and I'm checking out and I'm avoiding all the things in my life that are like causing chaos in some way. And this is my way of like retreating and keeping myself safe ultimately too. Like it's a
coping mechanism.
Yeah, absolutely. But on the other side of anything, and depression is just one example, but any sort of like undesirable behavior pattern, emotional experience, whatever it is, there's some sort of gain.
Absolutely. And that is, I think this concept was introduced to me like in the last year probably. And oh boy, the mirror of like, oh shit.
Yeah, it's called out.
No, it is. It's like, it really is like being called out. And I actually love this because I think we've talked about this and we've taught about this in our group coaching programs and just in our work as individuals of like this concept that, of like outsourcing responsibility.
Yes.
We have to take ownership, like to actually heal and to actually like go on this journey. There has to be some accountability for ourselves of saying like, wait, this pattern isn't happening to me.
Yeah.
Like I participate in this as well.
100%. Yeah.
And I think that is another like slippery slope, and like misconception of like, maybe what nobody wants to hear that they are the problem. Or that they are contributing to a problem or a cycle. Yeah. Cycles exist because we participate in them.
Yes.
If we choose not to participate in them, the cycle might still exist, but it's over there on its own. We've stepped out of it. You know what I mean? Like have fun over there, boys. Like I'm exiting. And that actually takes one, ownership of action, and two, like responsibility of what we're actually doing and our role in things. And I think that when we talk about payoffs, like a lot of the time people, it's like that outsource, like we don't want to, it's uncomfortable to look in that mirror and recognize our own role or our own behavior or just so many, parts about sitting with ourselves can be really uncomfortable, but it actually is such an essential part of going on these journeys because it allows us to really claim our power, our sovereignty, and to actually make meaningful change. We cannot, if we could outsource everything, if we could outsource healing, if we could outsource blame, if we could outsource literally anything, right? That would make it way too easy.
Way too, and boring, by the way.
Yeah. Like imagine I'm outsourcing the responsibility of something onto everything else.
Yeah.
That's actually not being an advocate for ourselves. That's not being in control of our lives. And unfortunately, it can be frustrating to hear this, but like we are in control of our lives and we are in control of everything that we do and we participate in, even when things feel really, really out of control. I want to acknowledge that that's okay. And that happens. Like we do get to a place where I think we all have either been there or will be there at one point or another in our lives where we have felt completely like, helpless in a cycle or in something that's happening or in a situation where we feel so overwhelmed. And I think that is also kind of why you and I are passionate about helping people through these things and this work, because we've kind of both been in our own ways in that place where it's like, what do I do? How do I change this? How do I get out of this? And, that's again, trying to do it alone is really hard. Yeah. And that's where other people come in and can help get you the tools, but it still takes that like radical self-acceptance, that look in the mirror that is uncomfortable.
Very uncomfortable. I think too, like when you're in a season, like when you're in the thick of things and you feel like you're being like broken open and like things feel so raw and so vulnerable and so messy, and like the place that you just spoke about of like, what do I even do? Like, where do I go from here? Being able to have a community of people, whether it be friends, family, therapists, coaches, like you have to be able to have someone to walk through that journey with.
Yes.
Like it's again, just speaking to like, we are communal beings. We're designed to be in relationship. We should not be doing this on our own, especially in those times when things are like really raw.
Absolutely.
And really tough. And being able to like lean into that season is so much easier when you have someone to do it with you or to walk alongside you or to like just reassure you like there is light on the other side of this. Like there is something so beautiful in this for you, even though you can't see it yet.
Absolutely. Yes. I think that like, thank goodness for the coaches that I've had on my journey and the friends and the people that have been there for me, because truly, like when I look back on them, it's like life. It's like, sometimes the universe, God, whoever you choose to, identify with, will like bring you a life raft. And when we're like so fixated on the individualism in our culture, like that, girl, don't miss the lifeboat.
Yes.
Get on the boat.
Yes.
Go to the therapist, and you know what? I think another thing to just touch on in that is like, maybe the first therapist you go to doesn't feel right. Sometimes finding a good fit does take some shopping around. Maybe the first coach you meet with, it's like serves a purpose for a season, but just really being open and opening your heart to like, to allowing the compassion, the love, the support, and recognizing that like, unfortunately, like that whatever objection your brain can give you is actually something you can overcome. Yeah. Because I can like hear right now, people, I've said this, I can't afford it. I don't have time. I don't want to burden them. That is all objections your brain is putting out there to actually like keep you in that space. Unfortunately, like, whoa, truth bomb.
For sure. And it's this phrase is so cheesy, but like, choose your hard.
Choose your hard.
It's hard to say, yeah, I'll go to coffee with this new person that I've never met to maybe make a friend, or to say like, yeah, I'll go see this therapist. I've tried 5 others, but like, sure, I'll give it one more shot. Like, choose your hard. Those things are uncomfortable, but it's also really uncomfortable to be in the tough position that you're in. So you get to make a choice, and that goes back to the concept of ownership and agency, and being able to say like, okay, I do get to make these decisions in my life. I do have control over like the path or the next avenue that I'm going to take.
Yeah, absolutely. It like, that's making me think of resistance and the role resistance has in so much of this of like, I think a lot of the time we want to like maybe avoid discomfort. Like that's so human to want to avoid discomfort for sure. And it can be uncomfortable to meet new people or to put yourself out there, or even, you know, the resistance of like not wanting to be having the experience you're having. I think it's so common to just be like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I don't want to be in another season of grief or in another season of growth, or like, it's okay to feel that fatigue, and recognizing that like that may come up and that does come up, but, how can you meet that resistance? It's like working out. I hate to use a working out analogy.
Do it.
I'm going to do it. I hate to do this, but no one has ever done a workout and at the end of it been like, I feel terrible. You know, at the end of it, you're never going to like regret having done that hard work. But getting yourself there. Yeah. That sometimes takes
a little tough.
It's a little tough.
Yeah.
I mean, I went through that this morning. Okay. I was like, I don't want to go to the gym. I kept hitting snooze on my alarm. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I have a really great sunburn on my legs. I was like, oh, like leggings. I don't know. Yeah. And then after I did it, wow, there's no part of me that is like, oh, I wish I wouldn't have gone to the gym.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know? And it's the same. It's the same with this whole concept. You're never going to regret having done the work. You might have to hype yourself up to do it.
Yep. Or have some hype girls around you.
Yeah. Some people that are like, you've got this and you're worth all of this. And, you know, we see you. I think, oh gosh, my heart right now, I feel that having people that see your value and are able to reflect that back to you when you don't see it yourself. Yeah. That's so important. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Thank goodness for those people in all of our lives. And you know, find those people if you don't have them. I really encourage anyone listening to start to look for those people if you don't have them, because oh man, they're so important. So
important. And even if it's just one person, like one quality over quantity, friends.
Amen.
Like if you have one quality person that is there to cheer you on and to say, I believe in you. I see your worth. I see your value. You deserve it all. Like that is worth so much. Like you can't replace that person.
No.
So yeah, being able, and sometimes again, that takes like putting yourself in uncomfortable positions. If you don't have that person right now, to say, I'm going to start putting myself in places or environments where I can meet people who have that potential to be that person in my life. And I want to be that person for them too. Yeah. Like we have to take risks in all of this.
Oh my gosh, we have to take risks.
Yeah.
No, we really do. Like life is, if we don't take risks, like we can all think about something, a situation, a person or something in our lives where if we weren't willing to like put ourselves out there and take that risk, we wouldn't have what we have in this moment. I don't care if it's a job you applied for, the relationship you're in, a friendship you have, whatever. We've all taken a risk at one point or another. And had we been too scared to take that risk, like what would our life look like or where would we be, you know? And so just recognizing that like, what's the worst thing that can happen? You get told no. And yeah, nobody likes to hear the word no, but part of life.
Yeah.
Part of life.
And it could be worse. You know what I mean?
Like, yes.
You're not going to die by
hearing no. Tell me that at 19 in acting school, babe. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Yes.
But exactly. Like, I think like the exposure to rejection, and I get it. No one is comfortable with it. It doesn't feel good. Even now today, like nobody wants to be rejected. Are you kidding me?
No, it doesn't feel good.
Oh, it's scary. It's terrifying. Yeah. What? And especially like with all of the noise we have in the world from social media, from, even just like in America, we value pop culture in a weird way. That like, I'm here to tell you, other countries don't. And our obsession with like being entertained, fitting in, things like that, they can like make us strive for a certain like level of, I think, I don't know what the word is. Maybe you do. Like, like trying to hop on the next trend or like be part of the thing. And sometimes that in itself, when either we don't fit into the trend isn't authentic, or what's like in or popular at the time, that can feel, when it's not authentic or aligned with who we are, and we try to fit in or we don't connect with it, like that feels like rejection, that can feel like
there's a lot of friction that happens there where you're like, oh, but this is what I'm seeing on social media, or this is what this celebrity or this influencer, whatever, is doing. And so I should probably be doing that too. And then you do it and you're like, wait, I actually hate this, or this doesn't work for me in my life or the context in which I'm living. Like, yeah, I think, again, it just speaks to like the unfortunate downside of something like social media. And I feel like we're shitting on social media a lot.
But our career is social media, and we're just going to tear it down, you guys.
Yeah. But really, like, there's so many beautiful things that can come from connecting with people and getting new ideas and inspiration on social media. But I think for the most part, like when you really start talking to people and listening to people, and also having the personal experience of like, you start looking on social media and you see this curated version of these incredible healing journeys or where someone is at in life. And a lot of times if someone's promoting where they're at in life, they're going to give you a before and after of like, this is where I started and I was in this horrible place and I had to walk through this whole messy journey, but it's kind of like a curated, cute version of it.
Yeah.
And then now look at the luxury that I'm living in, or look at the relationship I'm in, or the career that I have, or how much money I'm making, or whatever it is, how I parent my kids so perfectly.
Oh God.
Like, I cannot imagine being a mom on social media, like just the pressures of all of it. And so when you're exposed to that, instead of these real life relationships where you actually get to see people in person and you're like, oh, I know all the in-between things.
Yeah.
And not just the
highlight reel.
Yes, exactly. And it's really easy to look at that snapshot of someone's feed or their grid or whatever it is, and to start feeling really terrible about your own situation, and to just be like, I'm not healing hard enough, or I'm not, like, whatever it is, right? Like,
like my life is supposed to look like that.
Yeah,
like the comparison. It's so hard. It is. Like, I mean, I think we can both agree that like we've experienced that in our work, and just being online. It's like sometimes a really hard place to be, especially depending on the season of life you're in. And I love that you said all of that, because it's so important when it comes to just like the context of, I'm like, healing aside, the context of living in the modern world. You know what I mean? Like, it's such a real thing. And the pressure, when you were talking about like, I was in this horrible place and now I am so guilty of that trend. When I first started my coaching career, I was like 25, and I don't know, I was like fresh on the TikTok. This was like, the year was 2020, maybe 2021.
Yeah.
And I loved the TikTok back then, let me tell you. Yeah. And there was this trend. I like can like literally picture this reel. I'm sure we could find it on my social media. But
someone go and do that. Yes, someone will do it.
go to no, please actually don't go to the depths of my TikTok. My God. Some of that is it didn't age well. Okay. But no, I had this video where it was like, before I healed codependency or whatever. And by the way, healed codependency, I want to touch on that. Like, that destination in a second, that this healed idea. But I was like, like disassociated, all of this, underweight, blah, 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 all of whatever. I had like a list of stuff because, okay, yeah, super anxious in a less than desirable like situation ship. And then my like after was like, doing all this amazing stuff, like feel confident in my body, blah, blah, blah. Like, no, spare me the 5-act play. Yeah. Also, I'm here to tell you guys, it's a lie. Like not in that like my life didn't get better. Yeah, it did. And it has, but also right back to that thing we were talking about. It's not linear.
No.
All of that has come up again and will come up again and again and again, because even though I it's like a weird thing. And I think we can acknowledge this on here. It's a weird thing to be in a position of like authority and like have a deep understanding of something, and to also be able to say, which like every business coach in the world and social media would not advise that I do this. But I'm here to tell you that like I'm human too.
Absolutely.
And it's all going to come up 1,000 times, whether it's because I'm in a new relationship or I'm becoming a parent. Like there are so many situations where these things will come back up because that is literally just part of life. And so it's just interesting to even recognize, like, I think it's, we can fall into it even though we have the awareness. And I mean, I'm not out here like selling you guys a false,
no, it's just it's a human experience, right? And so I think, again, that's just like the danger of seeing one post, for example, where you can see this like before and after snapshot, whether it be pictures, which are super easy to see, like a visual representation, right? Or someone's bank account statements, or like whatever it is that people are sharing of like the before and after state. And it's just, it can be really hard to look at that from an outsider lens and to say, oh, so they have arrived and they've made it. And then you start looking at your own situation and you're like, I mean, we could do this too, of like, oh, but like I'm still human. Like I still struggle with anxiety sometimes. Like I still struggle with codependency sometimes. Like, sure, we're human. And so when you get that picture online of what someone else's life looks like or what they want you to think their life looks like, it can be really hard. I shared something a few weeks ago, maybe, that was like, this isn't sexy and it doesn't sell well, but like I don't have a before and after picture. I don't have like a crazy before and after state to share with you guys. Like it was slow and subtle and over time and gradual over the course of I can look at the last 10 years of my life or the last 5 years of my life and say, it didn't always feel like things were changing in the moment. But when I look back, it's like, oh yeah, that was actually a pretty big transformation. Like I'm a very different version of who I am than I was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And I'm going to continue to evolve. And, when we're 35 and 5 years, we're going to look back and be like, wow, we are different versions of ourselves.
Absolutely.
And that's amazing.
That's so beautiful.
Yes.
I think that is such a important thing to touch on. Like, have you seen on, I don't know, I've been getting something popping up a lot on my feed about slow burn relationships. And it's this idea that I think it's like, I'm drawing the comparison right now to like slow burn healing, as it's not like this like fast, like extreme change. It's like a slow, gradual thing. And this person, this, I don't know, it's an account that keeps popping up that talks about slow burn relationships, is talking about how like the culture tells you it should be like this, like, we fell in love, lightning, sparks flew. Oh my God. And she actually talks about how like the slow burn relationship is the sustainable relationship. Yeah. The one that is like a slow, gradual building of something over time. And I've loved seeing that because I'm in a relationship right now that is like, it's amazing. And I'm like so happy. And there's so much good and amazing things unfolding in it. And oh my gosh, my codependent little self wants to sabotage every fucking second of this. Like, oh my God. Thank God he's not going to listen to this, but, and he knows it because I'm super honest and transparent with him about it. But it's just like, there are moments where I'm like, but wait, like this coach says that it should be like that. And this coach says our sex life should be like this. And I know that we're supposed to be doing this because it's like what's online. And I have to like pause and be like, wait a second, like, what are you trying to create here?
Turn that volume down.
Oh, like, absolutely. Literally like the peanut gallery, the committee, like, shh, hush. Exactly. And that's where like, just the transparency and being able to like have conversations and recognize that these triggers are coming up hardcore right now for me. Codependency. Oh my God. Insecurity, all of it. But like I feel so grateful to be in a place and in a relationship where I can say, hey, this pattern's showing up.
Yeah.
Can we talk about it? Or I'm feeling really insecure right now and my brain is telling me stories about whatever. And having a partner that's like, okay, like, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Let me reassure you. Like, what a gift. Because if you would have told me 25-year-old me about this, she'd be like, okay. Mm-hmm. But it's that same concept of like you're talking about on your healing journey. It's this slow, gradual change where it's like, I'm not showing up like I'm not a new person.
Yeah.
I am not a new version of myself in the sense that like all of that never happened. It's like, there's no magic eraser to like get rid of the lived experience or the fears or the things that are deeply ingrained and programmed in us. They still show up.
Yeah.
Because that's reality.
It is.
And like you said, we can look back and say, oh, I am not who I was. And I've changed so much. And there has been growth and evolution. And now maybe where 5 years ago I would have showed up like chaotic, crazy, tears in my eyes, hair standing on end, like, you don't love me. Now I'm like, hey, I'm having this like crazy thought. Yeah. Can you ground me in reality? Yeah. And how different that is and the quality of it being different. And just that's healing. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so like for our listeners, you know, maybe recognizing like the ways that you're showing up differently, where maybe you used to show up one way and now you're showing up differently, like that is actually healing. That is growth. That is exactly what we're talking about. And so maybe it didn't feel like this monumental change. Maybe you're not able to look at the before and after, but there actually still is a before and after.
Yep. It's just different than what you pictured. Yeah. It's not what I pictured.
It never is it?
Yeah. I think, you know, we haven't defined healing throughout this, but I think that sums up the concept of healing in so many ways, of being able to have the insight into the issue or the thing that you're trying to improve or work on or change, to have enough insight to recognize this is a pattern that's deeply ingrained in me because of family dynamics, because of a traumatic experience, because of chronic stress, whatever it is. This is a pattern that's deeply ingrained. So I can do all the work I want, but at some point it's going to show up again. And it might not be as strong or as powerful or as obvious, but it's going to start like showing up, and to have the ability to look at it and say like, oh, I know what that is. I remember this. And I know that I'm going to do things differently this time. Like I'm going to engage with this pattern differently. I'm not going to let it become all consuming in my relationships and my parenting and my job, whatever it is. I'm going to do things differently. And that, I think, is this concept of healing. Like you're doing it. That's
Yes.
it.
I love that.
Like, it's just part of the human experience to have these things kind of come up and kind of ebb and flow. And it's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah.
That's really beautiful. And I want to like acknowledge exactly like you just said, like, this is the human experience, and it's okay that these things are part of our reality.
Yeah.
We're not arrived. You said that at the beginning, and I've been like holding that. I love that. No one is fully arrived.
No.
And if we were, I don't know, what would we be doing?
What's the point? Like, what would be the point? Yeah.
What would we be doing? You know, I think, like, I'm looking here at some of like what we had to like talk about. And it's so funny how we've just like gone through so much. But it's like, it really is so encompassing, and it is not linear. And there is so many elements of it that at times will have different qualities, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, but before we kind of wrap things up here, I think one thing that's so important to talk about is like, it can be easy to become like addicted to the healing journey.
Oh, yes.
And it's like, your whole life is one big healing journey now, right? And it's this whole thing, and it's intense, and you're just always going through it. And like, it becomes a lot. And then like, you're again missing the point. You're missing the point of it, right? And I think too, like, when you think about the word healing, it being kind of through this lens of like, you're wounded, you're broken, something's wrong with you, you need fixed, etc. And when you view your life through that lens of being addicted to fixing and healing and mending and all of that, like, I think that's really problematic. I think that can get really dangerous.
I agree.
You're thinking of yourself constantly as like this wounded individual who needs healing or rescued or whatever it is, instead of being able to kind of recognize like these things can come in seasons. I can have more maybe intense seasons or periods in my life where I'm like going through it or actively, very intentionally healing in some way.
Yeah.
And I can have seasons where I'm kind of like, you know, taking a step back and just kind of enjoying life and going with the flow and just letting things be.
Yeah, absolutely. We have to have, if we did not have seasons of kind of like more mundane or like more just like living our lives, like, yeah, like right now, you know, maybe you're not going to therapy, or the season looks like a little bit more, maybe it's a busy season and you don't have time to like unpack or whatever, right? Then we wouldn't actually see the growth or like feel the growth. And I agree. Like, there's also like the trap of never being satisfied or never being like, being able to celebrate or see like, gosh, my life is so good. Yeah. My life has been so good. Even though there might be things that didn't feel great, life is so beautiful and so good. And look at all I've learned, look at all I've done and grown through, and that I understand. Right. And I love that you mentioned like the seasons of life, the phases, the cycles, like some seasons might be really intense, and some seasons, I think it can be common for the seasons that feel a little bit more like nothing's happening. Like I'm just living, I'm going to work every day, I'm making dinner, I'm hanging, you know, I'm literally just living. Sometimes our brains can get like, feel like I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. There's something missing because I'm not in an intense phase of growth, or things don't feel challenging, or I'm not, I'm in an in-between phase, and recognizing that, just recognizing when our brain is like kind of looking for the problem in that moment, because it's okay to have that season. And honestly, like sometimes those seasons are like where we're getting our energy for the next curveball that is about to be brought to us, you know, because we can't predict the future and we don't know what's going to happen, you know? So whether that is just like, maybe we get fired, maybe we lose a loved one, like those seasons that we can't predict require us to show up in a different way, and they break us open in a different way. And realizing that, to kind of just like have gratitude, I guess, is like my point to this, is like be grateful for the in-betweens and be grateful for the less intense moments sometimes, because if we're always addicted to that high of like, the, deep work, then what about all the other moments, and what are we missing, and slowing down and all of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like if you take anything from this, just recognizing like to kind of like set down the expectations and to set down like the intensity and being destination oriented, and like it has to look a certain way, just recognizing like it can be messy, it can be subtle, it can be really intense, or it could not. Like it just, there's like the individuality of it all is so important to recognize. Like no two healing journeys
look the same.
are going to look the same.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that remembering that healing happens in all places. It happens in the heart. It happens in love. It happens in the joy. Healing comes in all different forms, and to not don't set yourself up in the trap of like, it wasn't hard, so I didn't heal. It wasn't painful, so there wasn't a lesson. It's like, no, like sharing laughter with a friend is healing.
Yeah.
Just like hearing I love you, or those little moments are also full of healing.
Yeah.
So So did we answer the question of what is healing?
In a very vague, roundabout way. I mean, I think it's an abstract concept, and maybe it's meant to be.
Absolutely. That's beautiful. Concept. Oh my gosh. You guys, I hope you're ready to go on a metaphorical journey, because apparently we're full of them. I'm full of metaphors. I know that. It's terrible. But yeah. Well,
thank you so much for listening. And next episode, we're going to be talking all things nervous system.
Yes, I can't wait. I can't wait to go on that path. We'll see you guys soon.
All right. Take care.